All right. So let's officially get started. It is 2:02, and this is being recorded as well. But in order for you to get your credit, because it's for a grade, we've been told, hi, America, we've been told that we have to give you grades for this. So if your name is here, then you get the grade. If someone misses it, I will put the recording in Google Classroom if it turns out right. And they'll be able to see it, but they won't be able to get the grade for this. All right. So, anyone have anything they want to say to their classmates as far as a check-in or I know I just met with video production and they were concerned. They said a lot of people are still just hanging out at each other's houses or having parties or different things like that. But they also said they all want to come back to school. I want to come back to school.
So I have a question.
Yes.
It's more easy. So you're just gonna ask us questions like about the second inaugural address?
Yeah, so it'll be as if we were in class and we're actually having like a quick discussion on what to focus on because you do have a quiz this Friday. All right, so let's just get started. So one, it was very important for you to be able to compare Lincoln's presidency at the very beginning, year one, compared to what it's like when he gave the second inaugural address. He'd just been reelected to a second term in his presidency. At this point, they feel like, the war is almost over. They really feel like the Union is going to win, and they are expecting him to announce the victory. Of course, that's not what he does. So you need to know, well, what does he do? What did the audience expect to happen when they were listening to the address? And then what did Lincoln do instead? And why did he do what he did and not give them what they were expecting? Say that again?
How he subverts our expectations?
Yes, because he did exactly what he wanted to do and not necessarily what the people wanted. He was concerned about unifying the North and the South. He wasn't concerned about let's announce a victory. He wasn't even concerned about what we're going to do in the Reconstruction area, where we're going to build up the actual South, because the South took a loss when they lost the war. So they need help. They need rebuilding. But instead, he was wanting to unify everyone because he felt like when this is all over with, it's going to be some people that were upset. He knew there were going to be some people that were upset. People didn't like the Emancipation Proclamation. People didn't like that the North was winning the war. And in his speech, it's both the South and the North coming together to listen. So his thing is, how do I unify the nation? I need to get the nation back. We separated in North and South for this war. We fought, we won. Everyone pretty much knows that. But how do I get peace amongst the country when this is all over with? Was that a question? Hello? All right. So my question is, what was Lincoln saying in his speech to help unify the North and the South, or at least to try? What was he saying that people needed to do? So you all don't know? You all just want me to tell you? Is that why everyone's here, for me to just tell you?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Stephen is at the bottom. If you look at the bottom, right where I'm moving this cursor, you should have a button where you can turn off your camera. All right. Okay. So he wanted to unify them to find out what was their commonality, and the biggest commonality was religion. So you know from Crucible, they're all very religious, and so he's like, "Hey, this is this is God's desire. God's desire was for us to have this war. It wasn't necessarily the Union saying they wanted to do it. That was that part in the speech where he just kind of said the war came, and the war came. We didn't have control over it. Yes, the South started the war and initiated, but it came because now it is no longer God's will for us to have slaves and to practice slavery. God has said that this too shall pass. And so if you believe in God and you're in the North, and you believe in God and you're in the South, then we all have the same God. We all want to live a happy life. Then can't we all just get along? And let's all get along. That was his purpose for the speech, and that's not what they were expecting to hear.
Okay.
If you know
That
anything,
makes sense.
if you
That
know
makes
anything that happened next, because this is March when he's giving the speech, he's assassinated the next month. So,
Okay.
so it wasn't as effective, but he knew it was going to be a backlash, which is why he used this inaugural address to try to unify the nation, to try to see, okay, what can we do? How can we have a commonality? Because remember, the end of slavery does not mean the end of racism. It does not mean the end of discrimination. It did not mean the end of sexism or anything. It just meant that they no longer work for free. Many slaves, after the Emancipation Proclamation, actually stayed on the plantation and entered into something called sharecropping, meaning that now they were paid a few pennies, sometimes weekly, instead of for free. And then that had its own problems. All right, so that's number one. Also, 2 for the test. You need to know about Lincoln's call to action at the bottom, and you need to be able to put that in your own words. And so his call to action, since I know you all just want me to tell you, his call to action is, how can we resolve this? Or let's go out our way to reconcile. Let's go out our way to do right to one another. Let's go out our way to help the South rebuild. It's almost like, yeah, we fought you, we kicked your butt, but now we're going to help clean up afterwards. We're going to help you pick up the pieces after we fought. Almost like when you fight a family member, like you get into a fight with a brother or a cousin or something, afterwards it's like, all right, you want to go eat some Flaming Hots? It's that. It's like, how can we now just get back together and strengthen? So that was his call to action. So he encouraged everyone that was listening to his address to go and do their part to strengthen the nation as we get back to one whole instead of separated in North and South. So when I asked about the call to action, you need to be able to give me that. And then I wanted you to be able to compare America 4 years earlier, first inaugural address, when he didn't even know for sure that there was going to be a war, right? And this is something I kind of said in class, where when the presidents, they first become president and they look, nice. Well, some of them, they look nice. And then some event happens and then the hair get gray and they look all stressed. And so if you compare the first part of his term of his presidency to the second term, you can see that he's in a totally different situation. So I want you to be able to compare and contrast those two situations. Where was America 4 years earlier, where there's a division? Is there going to be a war? There's a talk of war. And then fast forward, and all of a sudden, they already know that the union's going to win. And they're a lot happier. They're a lot lighter. They're not like, oh my God, anymore. They're just like, yeah, we kind of got this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are we able to?
Yes.
Are we able to see those differences between where they were 4 years prior, not knowing there was going to be a war, compared to where they were when he gave this speech, knowing that the war is almost over and now they have to go and reconcile living a different type of life? It was a totally different type of world after that. All right. And then lastly, can you compare what's going on in Lincoln's presidency, right? This is the beginning of his second term, to what's going on now in Trump's presidency, as this is the last year of his first term.
That's kind of crazy. He already has like a huge disaster going on, like his last year as president.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
It happens to most of them, but Trump this may be worse, definitely worse in my lifetime. But now he is approaching us in a different way. We have television now. And so just about every day he is approaching the people, and we're sitting here having a certain expectation of what is it that you're going to say, what is it that you're going to do. Have anyone been paying attention to the briefings that come on daily? Anybody?
Not daily, but sometimes I'll watch
Sometimes,
it.
right? Because I think the last couple of days has been, will they give out a stimulus package to help families that need help?
Oh, yeah, the $1 trillion thing.
Right. Because, some of that is going to businesses too, but they haven't been able to come to an agreement. And so it's still at a standstill. Meanwhile, some people, they need something, either like, hey, postpone my rent, something like, because a lot of people are forced to stay at home. How do you generate income if you're forced to stay at home if you don't have residual income set up? And most people in America, they're set up as employer, employee, employer, employee. You don't clock, you don't hit the clock, you don't get paid. And so they're trying to work on that. And that may be announced maybe even tomorrow. They've been working on it, but they've been voting and the vote hasn't gone through yet. So again, the viewers' expectations compared to what is given in the speech. So there will be a question comparing what's going on now to what was going on back then. So you should be able to identify and compare and contrast the similarities and the differences, because even though we're not at war, right? And they were at war, the war was on our soil. This is still something that is actually here in America that we have had the luxury to not really have. Normally when stuff happens, it's like just on TV somewhere else. It's not here. So while this isn't a war and this is a virus, it is still a lot of similarities in his presidency, in his speeches, and how he has to address his people, in Lincoln, in his presidency, in his speeches, and how he had to address his people. Which is ironic because it seems like so much this year we're covering something, and then all of a sudden something happens in the news where it's similar to what we're learning about in the book, almost like history repeats itself, so to speak. So
Trying to kill us this year.
Nope, just wash your hands, stay in the house. If you go out, wash your hands. Always wash your hands. Try not to touch anything. Pumping gas, anything. Just don't wash your hands. Girls, if you all are still wearing the nails, I cut mine off. You still wearing the nails, when you wash your hands, clean all inside, all of that. Yeah.
Will we be having a test soon?
So it's Friday, and I did announce it at the beginning. It is this Friday. It's only over the Lincoln second inaugural address, and it's only going to touch on the things that I talked about here. So it's not going to be like that traditional test where you get the 10 multiple choice and then there's 2. It's not that. It's going to be issued to you through a Google form, just like how I did the survey, but it's going to be in quiz format. And then that's how you'll be able to answer it and submit it to me. And it's basically everything that I'm talking about here, those points. It's the same points from the actual video lecture, and it's the same points that we talked about here. If you can compare and contrast what's going on here now to what was going on with Lincoln's first presidency, his first year, compared to what it is when he gives his second inaugural address, expectations, the audience, and then also Lincoln's delivery, and then knowing that whole religion element. He really played on religion. And I think when in doubt, just say religion. But he really played on religion in the speech because that was something that unified them. It didn't matter whether you were slave or free, whether you were abolitionist or a slave owner, North, South, they all had that in common. And so he's saying, yeah, slavery was in the Bible, but if God allowed this war and allowed us to win the war, then basically is God's providence to get rid of slavery. Yeah, back to that, to get rid of slavery. And if that's the case, then don't get upset with me. This is God. This is God. This is God. And then they assassinated him the next month. But yeah.
All right.
And that's it. That's pretty much the outline of what you need to know for the test. I'm not doing any vocabulary on it. I'm just doing those things that we talked about. Remember at the beginning that the audience, their expectation was they thought it was going to be a victory speech. They did not know that he was going to say, "Kumbaya, let's all get along, everybody." No. They just thought that he was going to like gloat or something, or like the union was going to celebrate. And that's not what he did. Instead, he's
Is that
like,
a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it was a good thing. I think it was a good thing. And it's just personal opinion, because how significant is a speech if you're just gloating or just celebrating without a call to action? So I like the fact that Lincoln had a call to action. He's like, okay, we already know that we won. Hey, Anthony, we already know that we won. So what's the point of me announcing and spending a whole speech saying we won? We are going to win this. It's just, they could just tell we are going to win this. The war is going to be over soon. We know that. So this is what you need to do going forward. This is how we need to connect as a country. This is how we need to unite going forward. And that was his plea. Unfortunately, there are still some people who wanted to be mad, who wanted to be, spiteful. And of course, he ends up getting assassinated. And things did not go back like to normal. It was a lot. It was just still really, really bad, because the South were what people would say like poor losers. They did not take losing the war too lightly. And so right after this period is when we go into the Reconstruction era. I probably will have a question about that. It's in the video. And that's just the moving forward. How do we build the South? How do we move forward now in this particular era? And a lot of your historical figures is what they did when they did their courageous act and kept moving forward, was the Reconstruction era. When the women came forward and, and did their movement, it's like kind of right after Reconstruction. So it's like Civil War, emancipation, Reconstruction era, and then women's movement. That's it. Hey, welcome. How are you? And that's it. So anybody have any questions, anything they want to ask me about assignments, grades? Yes.
Is the test going to be like during our period, or say a certain
No,
time?
actually it's not. So it's not going to be like, oh, everyone has to log in during their period. It is going to be sent to you in a Google form.
Okay.
Okay. And so now they've already talked to us about so they talked to us about like using things like Turn It In, or using things to make sure that you all are not cheating, which is why it's not multiple choice. And so normally what it would be is just the form, you fill out the form, so it's all a short answer, and it's kind of graded like that. Now, if I open up your docs and they're all like saying the exact same thing word for word, then we may have a problem. But as of right now, I just want to send the form to you and have you get it back the same day. But to have everyone go in at the same time, I think is tricky. Is it possible? Yes. Is it more credibility that way? Yes. But because there's so many other teachers that have Google Meetups and we're doing this and doing that, then it's like, well, I can't log in at this time because I don't know. So for now, that's what it's going to be. You'll get the day to do it. It'll have an expiration date. Now, if I don't feel too good about it, I may switch it up, and maybe there's like 10 questions and I may just give 5, but I may rotate and there's like 5 different versions where the questions may not overlap. But I'm hoping I don't have to do that. But I have been hearing that people have already been cheating on other teachers' assignments, and they've been getting caught. So this is, like I said, this is new. So we'll just have to see. Hey, Sierra. Any other questions?
Is there like a specific time?
Hey, Sydney.
Like, if once we open the test, is there like a specific time?
I was gonna do an entire day. I really was. But now that you all started asking the questions, maybe I should have like a 3-hour time span.
No.
No? I think that's fair, right? Yes?
Oh.
No?
No.
I don't know. I don't think it's hard because, like, even with this, I thought we were all going to discuss, and you all just kind of just made me just like give all the answers. um,
Let's go, guys.
8 hours, an 8 hour window.
Time after that.
Yeah, 8 hour window. That's a school day, right? And I don't have to start at 8 because I noticed a lot of you all email me from 2 to 6. I get most of my messages from 2 to 6.
Yeah, we wake up late though.
I've noticed. So I can do something like that. I can say, all right, you can take the test Friday from 2 to 6. I maybe we can do 2 to 8. I think that's fair. I like that. I'm going to write that down. 2 to 8 on Friday. And trust yourself. I don't even think that you all need to cheat. I think you know it. It makes sense. And a lot of it is opinion based too, which means there should not be the same answers. It's opinion based. Comparing, Trump in the end of his presidency to Lincoln in the start of his second term that he did not get a chance to actually, really experience is a personal answer. That's an individual response. And there's a lot of different angles you can go with that. So that's what I think. Any other questions?
How many questions are there going to be?
So I said that there's 10 questions. What I may do is I may only give you 5, but not give everyone the same 5. I may rotate them. And so everyone may not get the exact same version of the quiz.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is there gonna be like an essay type question or anything?
No. Just short answer response.
Oh.
Like they're open-ended questions, but not an essay. Please, I'll be grading all through spring break. So no, not an essay. We're not there yet. That's the big writing assignment comes at the end of this collection. That's just not where we are. So it would be wrong to just throw an essay at you. That would just be random. Now, what I do want to ask you all quickly is that I really want to continue the debates. And so next week, I am going to tell you who you're debating against and give you the assignment. The assignment is, before it's oral, it's always written. And so you'll spend next week doing your research on that person and doing your each individual writing part per your group. If someone in your group doesn't do it, it does not affect you because remember, it's all individual grades per your group. And so we'll do that, and that will be due before you go on spring break. And then we'll see where we are after spring break.
Wait, so if we're just going to be doing the research, we're not going to be debating against each other?
No, like after spring break, before.
So you're going to get your person who you're going to get. So if you're Robert E. Lee, I'm going to match up based on your presentation results. I'll match you up with your original person. The assignment you'll get next week will explain the format of how to do the debate. You and your group will decide who wants to do what part. Like Brian was in my speech class, so you kind of know how it works, like affirmative, negative, A1, A2. It's going to be like that. So you'll choose who's going to be A1, A2, A3, A4. This will make more sense next week when you see the handout. N1, N2, N3, N4. And then you'll do your own individual research and you'll write it up and you'll submit it to me. So next week, you're only doing, like you're writing out your debate and then you're turning it in on Friday, April 3rd. That's next week. Okay. And then we'll see where we are when we come back from spring break on how we actually let this debate play out. But you're doing what you would say out loud, you're writing it and you'll turn that in. So that's what you'll be doing next week.
Cool.
Make sense?
And it's also submitted.
Also,
Ms. Smith?
yes?
Can I use the restroom or do I have to use the bathroom pass?
I'm just saying that. You need a bathroom pass.
I'm just kidding.
I know. Hand sanitizer. Who has a birthday? Oh, Eric. It's Eric's birthday.
Okay.
Which Eric?
It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday, Eric.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's my-
Did your plans get canceled?
Yeah, but my friends are still coming over. Anthony and Xavier are gonna come over.
Okay. Make sure you use your hand sanitizer. All right. Sydney, you are.
Hi, Miss Smith.
Hi. Who is this?
Sydney.
Hi, Sydney. You said
Sydney P. Me?
you said you agree.
Yeah.
What do you agree with?
Oh,
What do you agree with?
What?
You said you agree. I'm reading the chat. You said you agree. What do you agree with?
Oh, the like time limit.
Yeah.
Because then people are just gonna procrastinate.
Right.
Like,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and we don't want that. And I really feel like you know the information and it's really open-ended. So I really want like answers that have substance that shouldn't really be duplicated because everyone's going to have their own twist on it. You get what I mean? And to me these are fun questions. I like comparing what's going on now to what's going on then. But I may be
Unless you're uneducated about current events.
What's my what?
I said unless you're uneducated about current events.
Yeah, but right now it's on TV all the time. No, everywhere I turn, it's everywhere. And then I keep getting emails about it everywhere. I can't get away from it. So, and then because it's Friday and I'm not giving it to you tomorrow, that still gives you enough time to reread it, listen to it, go back to the video because I go over all of this in the video as well. I think you'll be just fine.
Wait, so does that mean there's going to be more than one right answer?
Yeah, it's open-ended.
There has to be good.
I mean, some of them will be like, some of them is going to be like religion. What did he use? What's that number one thing that he used to unite the North and the South? The commonality, whether you slave or free, whether you're abolitionist or slave master, what is that one commonality? Religion. Now that's not open-ended, but you can expand and elaborate in your own unique way. But of course, that answer is religion. Same thing with Reconstruction. Well, Reconstruction is Reconstruction. They were trying to repair and rebuild the nation, specifically the South. But your elaboration is your elaboration. Yep. I think you all will be fine.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that.
No, I don't think so. And I don't think it needs to be. This whole unit was supposed to be oral. And it was really supposed to be for you to kind of really grasp like how they were courageous. So with Lincoln, this is a big deal where all of a sudden you become president and now the country is fighting each other. We're always hearing about wars against other countries, but Lincoln is in charge when the country is fighting each other, when the fight is actually right here and not way over there somewhere, So you can compare that with Trump, where he's dealing with a disaster that is it's everywhere. When 9/11 happened, well, it kind of was just like New York. I mean, the big problem with New York, it was like New York. It was like in one state. So people on the West Coast was like, oh, well, that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not in New York. But this is everywhere. It's not just California. Schools are out.
Yeah, like when it doesn't affect them, they like, oh, that's sad, but they don't really care. But when it affects them, like everyone's going crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone's been affected in different ways. Like everyone in my house is home. No one's out. No one's at work. Everyone's here. All the time. Everyone's here. That's like never happened before. Everyone's here. No one's going to work. Toilet paper was hard to find at first.
Ms. Smith, I got a real question now.
Yes.
Do you think there's going to be a lot more students failing classes now because of all this? Or no?
So you want the Grove answer or a wide answer?
The real answer.
The Grove answer.
So I think at Grove, Grove is actually doing a good job. They're like contacting kids. Like if you haven't like shown up or anything, it's taking them a while, but they're actually going through and contacting kids and saying, hey, do you need a Chromebook? Hey, you know, do you all need free Wi-Fi? And most districts are not doing that.
Yeah.
And so the problem that's happening is that in some of these districts where they're not doing that or the teachers aren't teaching at all, then there's an issue about, well, are we going to pass them?
Yeah.
Because they don't have grades. And there's certain mandates about grades that you have to have in order to legally pass you. So there's some districts that's having like that issue because there's no grading right now. Grove is not that district. They're really like making sure you do everything so we can have a case. Like, hey, like this here serves as documentation. No, the kids were still learning. We did online instruction. This follows this guideline, this mandate. Give these kids their credit and pass these kids. So that's where we are, but I cannot speak for every school.
Can we sing a happy birthday to Eric or no?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Everybody turn on your mic.
All right. You guys ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Yay! Happy birthday, Eric. Is this 17 for you?
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Wait, what happened?
How old are you?
I'm 17. Man.
That's what
My
I
boy's
figured.
18, bro.
Well, happy birthday.
Hey, when the female asks you, you gotta say 18, man.
No.
Wow, Anthony.
Nope.
I'm just kidding.
Different California rules. All right. Well, I am done. If there aren't any more questions.
I have a question.
Yes,
Gina?
So, we
Gina,
have to come back to school during summer.
are we going to have to come back doing what? Oh, so that's what I was kind of just saying. As of right now, there's no days tacked on to the end of our school year. There's no talk about tacking on our days at the end of our school year. That's why you're still doing work when some people are home and they're not doing anything. We're doing our work now, so they cannot come and say, hey, all right, we need to extend the month. No. So there's no add-on days.
Real banter?
No, that's real. That's real talk.
Okay.
Because no, that's what I have a lot. I know a lot of teacher friends from other districts, and they're not teaching. We're working. You're doing your work. We're not having add-ons. And I have that in writing. Have it in writing.
These few weeks instead of doing it over summer, that sucks.
No. We have it in writing. Anything else?
Nope.
No. All right. So I will give you a reminder on Thursday that the quiz is Friday. I will put a nice lengthy, but still a time frame where the quiz will close, and then let you have your weekend. And then Monday we will announce the who you are debating against and the actual debate roles and formats for that. Yep.
Do we still have like the same team?
Yes.
Okay.
You have the same team. I still have the rubric from your presentations with all your names and your scores. Remember, the scores is going to be used to match you up. So all of that is still going to stay the same. And you were going to have to research and type it out anyway. But you're just going to have access to research. And I think that if you have access to be here, then you should be able to have access to research your opponent, like whoever you're going against.
Ms. Smith, I have a question.
Yes.
Did me, Anthony, and Xavier and Jeremy have the best presentation?
Yeah, get out of here.
I think we did.
You think so?
I thought
think
Well, I feel like we
was
did,
better
but
than
Xavier wasn't there.
Yeah.
Her reaction says a whole different thing.
Like the best in second period. How about
But I don't remember.
Actually, my group was the best in second period.
But when I give you the results, it will have your rank.
Actually,
So you'll find out. I just don't know by heart.
that? Oh, okay.
But it will rank your presentations and yeah. So you'll find out. I'm not sure. But they were good. They were all pretty good. All right. So are we done? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So I will send you an announcement on Thursday. Quiz is on Friday, and then I will be back on Monday.
Sounds good. Make sure you wash your hands, guys.
Wash your hands. Thank you. Bye.
Punishment.
Bye. Bye, America, Anthony, Eric, Xavier, Brian. Bye, Jimmy.
Bye.
Bye, Sierra. Bye, Martins. Bye, Tammy.
Bye.
Bye, Jessica, Gina. Bye, Stephen. Bye, Sierra. Bye,
Bye, Miss
Alana Nicole.
Bye.
Bye, Brianna. Bye, Christopher.
Bye.
See you, Christopher. Bye, Brian, Salvador, Sierra, Tammy, and Christopher, and Giselle. I didn't see Giselle. Bye, Giselle.
Bye.
Bye, Juliana. Bye, V. Bye, Salvador.
I'm
Karina. Bye, Andrew. Who is this? All these little avatars. Bye, Thomas. Bye, Juliana. Bye, V. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. We're waving goodbye. We're waving goodbye. Stephen has left. All right, we are out. Awesome.